I learned that truth not from a stranger, but from my own husband, Ken, a man who slipped a ring on my finger in New York, then slipped into another woman's arms. But I am not the kind of woman who suffers in silence. While he thought he was playing me for a fool, I was sharpening my own blade. This is the story of how I turned his game against him, left him with nothing, and walked away with everything that truly mattered. Before I continue, let me pause for a while and appreciate you all that have been so dedicated to this channel. You all have been so amazing, and I am really grateful. Your countless support will never go unnoticed. Your comments, likes are very important to this channel. If this is your first time here, welcome to this family and subscribe for more beautiful stories. Now let me take you to the deepest part of this emotional, heartbreaking, and betrayal story. For about 3 weeks, Ken and I had just sealed our vows under the golden arch of a Manhattan rooftop, surrounded by friends, champagne, and the city's sparkling skyline. He kissed me like a man who had everything to lose. Little did I know, he was already gambling with our marriage. It started with small absences. Late-night meetings, muted phone calls in the bathroom, and that distant look in his eyes that even my touch couldn't break. I wanted to believe he was adjusting to married life. I wanted to believe us. But belief doesn't silence a gut that screams the truth. Her name was Monica. I found out by accident, or maybe fate. A friend spotted them in Soho, walking close enough for his hand to graze the small of her back, the way he used to touch me. My heart didn't shatter, it froze. That's worse. Shattered things can be glued. Frozen things, they stop living. I didn't confront him immediately. No. I smiled, cooked dinner, kissed his cheek, and tucked my anger away like a sharp blade. If Ken wanted to play with fire, I'd learn to strike my own match. The gym became my sanctuary. Not just for sweat and strength, but for breathing again. That's where I met Eric. 6'3", shoulders like carved stone, and a smile that could melt the ice in my chest. At first, he was just a trainer, guiding my form, counting my reps, laughing at my stubbornness. But soon, those sessions turned into long talks, lingering glances, and a kind of safety I hadn't felt in months. When Eric started coming over to practice at home, it wasn't about revenge. Not at first. It was about remembering that I was still alive, still seen. But deep down, I knew Ken would find out. And I wanted him to. Because sometimes, the best way to break a man isn't to leave him, it's to let him watch you rise in someone else's arms. Ken found out on a rainy Thursday. I was in the living room with Eric, stretching after a workout. The air was warm, heavy with the scent of sweat, and something unspoken between us. That's when the door slammed open. Ken's eyes darted from me to Eric, and I saw it, the rage of a man who believed betrayal was his privilege alone. "What the hell is going on here?" he roared. Eric stood tall, calm, as if he'd been expecting this. "We were training," he said evenly. Ken lunged, shoving Eric hard. Fists flew, furniture toppled, and I watched them, two men, one fueled by guilt and ego, the other by quiet strength. I didn't scream. I didn't intervene. I let Ken burn his anger until he was panting and cornered. Then I spoke. "Ken, stop." My voice cut through the room. "Before you embarrass yourself further, know this. I know about Monica." He froze. The fight drained from his body. I could almost see the weight of my words crushing his chest. "How long have you known?" he asked, voice low. "Long enough," I said. "Long enough to realize you threw away a marriage for someone who doesn't care about you the way you think she does." Eric stepped back, letting the moment belong to me. I didn't have to shout. My calm was the knife that slid between Ken's ribs. For the first time in months, Ken didn't have a reply. His eyes were cold, his jaw tight, but there was something else, fear. In the days that followed, Monica's shine began to fade. She stopped answering his calls as quickly. She made excuses for not meeting him. And then, one afternoon, she came to our apartment, not for him, but for his things. "Ken," she said with that polished cruelty only certain women can master, "I've met someone else." He's better for me. She took the gifts she'd given him, the money she'd invested, and even the watch I had bought him for our first anniversary. Ken stood in the wreckage of his pride, watching her walk away. I didn't comfort him. He hadn't comforted me when he betrayed me. Eric, on the other hand, was still here. Still solid. Still looking at me like I mattered. Ken's downfall didn't happen in a single blow. It was a slow unraveling. Without Monica, his evenings grew long and empty. Without my affection, his mornings were cold. His friends stopped calling, maybe sensing the stench of failure that clung to him. Eric filled the spaces Ken had left hollow. He brought laughter into my kitchen, strength into my arms, and a steady heartbeat into my nights. What started as training turned into partnership. We shared more than workouts. We shared plans, dreams, and a rhythm that felt like home. Ken tried, once, to apologize. He stood in the doorway, eyes sunken, wearing the same suit from our wedding day as if fabric could bring back time. Angela. I made mistakes, he whispered. I looked at him, really looked, and realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. You didn't just make mistakes, Ken. You made choices. And now you're living with them. He left without another word. Monica? She was last seen on the arm of some Wall Street executive, dripping in diamonds. Ken, meanwhile, was left with nothing, not her, not me, not even the self-respect he once wore so confidently. As for me, I ended up with Eric. Not as an act of revenge, but as a choice for my own happiness. He didn't just stand by me, he lifted me. He reminded me that my value was never tied to how Ken treated me. Some say the best revenge is living well. I say the best revenge is knowing you never needed them in the first place. And so, in the city where I once vowed forever to the wrong man, I began again, stronger, wiser, and no longer afraid to choose myself. If you find this story interesting and relatable, subscribe and hit on notifications. Your comments and likes are highly important for the growth of this channel. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.